Hey, it's Alyssa Long, and you are listening to Across the Bifrost.
Whosoever holds this hammer, if it be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Across the Bifrost. This is the Mighty Thor podcast, where on each and every episode, we explore the world of Marvel's Mighty Thor. Today, everybody, we are jumping into the second part of our creator spotlight on Walt Simonson. Yes, this is part 2 of the Simonson saga here on Across the Bifrost. Today, we're leaving Beta Ray Bill behind for a little bit, but don't worry, the action stays high because we're going to be talking about Vikings, dragons, and somebody is going to get beheaded by the end of this episode, and you'll have to stick around to find out who. But to go along this journey with me, Faz is not here tonight. Will is still traversing around Germany. Who in the world could help me talk about comics so epic, so literary in nature, so grand in scope? Well, I can only think of one friend that has been on the podcast before that has been itching to come back. He's done all the reading. He read the Simonson Omnibus in, I believe, record time, but Nathan Gilmour is back as my special member of the Warriors 3 this week. I feel like, Nathan, you're the Balder the Brave to our
man,
Warriors
wow.
3.
Okay. I didn't know I'd come in at Balder level. I thought, maybe at most, Elif the Lost or someone like that. But
I could have made you one of the Ravens. We could have made you one of the goats. I figured making you human was probably respectable.
There you go.
But yeah, Nathan Gilmour from Christian Humanist Profiles is back from Superpower Happy Hour that we did at Theology Beer Camp. You're actually here to talk about like a Thor specific thing, Nathan.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it.
We are also joined by a special guest that I'll be honest, everybody. I've been following, respectfully, I've been following what this man has been doing on his account and his channel for a long time. But John from John's Comics with Kids is here to actually talk comics with me, and I'm so excited about it. I'm going to try to stay composed, but John's here as well to join the crew.
Well, it's my pleasure, man. That's hilarious. No, I don't read enough Simonson, so I'm very excited for this. My era of Simonson was always X Factor, and of course Louise and her amazing time on Candy X-Men. So it's nice to get just pure Walt, no right, Louise, right. Just pure Walt, like we're getting here. So this is fun.
All Walt, no filler. Not that Louise Simonson is filler. That came across wrong. But no, we're excited to have you both here tonight. We are going to be talking about the next 4 issues in Walt's epic Thor run. We're going to be talking about issues 341 through 344, and some stuff is going to happen tonight. This one feels epic. It feels big. And it kind of feels like a big kaiju action movie at times. There's a lot that goes on here. And it's also like a Viking saga within it. And then the last issue, we get a highlight on Balder. And Balder's going to go on a quest himself. But you know what, everybody? Let's go on a quest tonight. Let's have a lot of fun here. To start off with 341, John's going to give us a synopsis, and then we're gonna dig into what we enjoyed about this issue. So John, the floor is yours, man.
I appreciate the opportunity here, and I went back and actually read the Beta Ray Bill story, which I was really glad I did, because it really brought in a lot of details to where Thor is at this moment, all the little side stories with where Balder is and what's going on Asgard. And I think that really helped me a ton to understand what's going on here. Plus, I totally forgot, this is a Secret Wars tie-in. 341 is the book where we connect with Thor going off to Battle World. So you have those blank panels here at the beginning of the issue to reference the fact that this is a tie-in to, or at least I hate to use that word because they didn't really do tie-ins for that saga, but they have those connective tissue pieces to lead us into Battle World.
which was something I didn't know before I started this reread, where I was like, blank panels. Okay, I got to look this up because I don't want to look stupid, when we talk about this. But I think it's kind of cool how because sometimes, like in modern comics, like what Thor is doing in the Avengers and what Thor is doing in his own book, they never merge.
Right.
Like they never matter to each other. So it's nice here to at least see like, oh, okay, Walt's at least explaining what is happening other places by Thor's like 3-panel absence here.
Right. And a lot of those books were never like important. They were because the Secret Wars miniseries didn't happen for like 7 months, usually later on. So people were getting these little glimpses of Spider-Man disappears into a weird dome, or 3 of the Fantastic Four get, vacuums sucked away into this little shape. And then for Simonson, I love that he just basically gave us 3 blank panels as like, I don't know what this Secret Wars thing is. They're not telling me, but something happened.
a mighty god walks into the mansion, and we'll fill in the blank later.
Exactly. But the crux of this story, like you mentioned at the beginning, is obviously the kaiju problem that continues through all 3 of these issues. We have Lorelei, who has been sort of in the background going through this story, attempting to communicate with the, do you want to call him a dragon? I guess Fafnir. I'm gonna suck at these names. I'm just gonna tell you right now.
I always refer to him as Fafnir, which like Nathan, you're
Fafnir is how I tend to say it, but
okay.
I think the two. I mean, honestly, none of us here is a Viking, so we'll roll with
Not
it.
yet.
That we know of. That goatee is looking fairly mighty.
No.
So we've got this dragon Fafnir, who Lorelei is going to try to convince to be a pawn in her plans, and that script gets flipped on her because he utilizes his ability to control her in return. It's like it's a great like, oh no, you can't mind control me. I'm gonna mind control you right back.
Yeah.
And then he uses her as basically bait to attack the New York City and lure Thor out to try to rescue her. Am I going too quick through this? I don't want to like
no. That's the big A plot of this one. It's Fafnir trying to get Thor out in the open, trying to basically goad him into this big fight because it's just a brief little reminder from our previous saga is because we know Surtur is coming and Surtur is forging the sword Twilight, which we're going to see him name in these issues, and he's going to get closer and closer to it being a complete weapon. Surtur is undoing a lot of things to bring his plan to fruition. In our next saga, or next part of the saga, Malekith becomes a pawn of Surtur. We see a little bit of that in the issues we're going to talk about tonight. But Fafnir is also one of those pawns because of what Surtur is doing, it releases Fafnir back into the world. So he's kind of wreaking havoc,
right?
Just because he wants revenge against Odin, he wants revenge against Thor, but Surtur's kind of using him like a dumb little plaything, where he's like, go create some havoc, go do some stuff, and coincidentally, it will also help Surtur kind of soften up Earth to his impending invasion. That's kind of the purpose of Fafnir in Surtur's larger plan.
Right. And at the same time, we've also got Thor starting a new life, right?
He's gosh, we have
no
to talk
longer
about
Donald Blake. Instead, he's going to be blue collar construction worker with the ponytail, and we can get into the glasses scene.
Yes, we can.
Definitely my favorite part.
Well, we've got to do the glasses scene, yeah.
But the idea is you've got him, Thor trying out a new existence. I'm no longer a doctor. I'm now a construction worker, and I'm going to try this. I'm going to have an apartment in Brooklyn. I'm going to be this different hero now. And of course, it lasts all of 5 seconds before there's Lorelei in distress and a giant dragon, and the hammer's got to come out, and I got to whoop some dragon butt.
So let's talk about Extreme Makeover Midgard Edition with Thor not being Donald Blake anymore. Now, again, he's been Donald Blake for like 200 issues.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's been his alter ego all the way back in Journey into Mystery 83.
Yep.
So we now have this new character, Sigurd Jarlsson.
Mhm.
By the way, if you're going to go with an alter ego, maybe don't make him sound like the most Norse thing in all of New York City.
Well, and honestly, his cover was the gift to English professors because, I haven't read a whole lot of Thor books. So I'm like, okay, there's a dragon. I don't know who the dragon is. Don't know what the dragon's name is. And then Nick Fury gives him the cover, Sigurd. I'm like, oh, it's Fafnir. Because, Sigurd is the slayer of Fafnir in the Edda and in the Volsung saga and Beowulf and
and listeners, that is why you have the ace up your sleeve named Nathan Gilmour, because he can pull that out of thin air and
I do
connect
none of
all
that.
the dots.
Yeah. I needed that right there.
yeah. I mean, in the banquet scene after Grendel is slain in Beowulf, the Shope, the poet, tells the story of Fafnir the dragon and the dragon slayer Sigurd. So
That's
I mean,
hilarious.
it's
I love
you
it.
know,
Yes.
That
happened.
honestly, this is one of the fun things about Simonson for someone like me. I mean, because he drops in all of these literary references, right? I mean, the Shakespeare, the sagas, the Bible, the just all over the place. So a lot of fun.
Well-read
A lot
and
of fun.
intelligent writers always.
Oh
bring that
gosh,
kind of
yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
I love it.
There is but the Sigurd persona
Mhm.
is so interesting because Nick Fury and Thor have one of the funniest interchanges that leads to bumping in with a character from across the aisle. So let's just paint a picture here. Which, by the way, guys, how are you guys reading these issues? I just think sometimes it's kind of cool for listeners to know how we're engaging here.
I borrowed the Simonson omnibus from the library.
Okay, well, that's a cool ass library.
Yeah, right. Dang. I've
John,
got the Marvel Unlimited app, so I was reading it off of my iPad, just because these are issues. I have some of the Beta Ray Bill story, but I do not have any of the other Simonson issues.
So this is really a treat because Nathan is reading in a physical omnibus, John is reading digitally, and I have the single issues.
Boom.
Ooh.
So we're all three reading a different mastering of this story, which is fantastic. But back to Nick Fury kind of getting Thor's glow on. So
well, and the best part of that is he hands him these, glasses and he says, "Here, put these on. They work great for the other guy." And I'm like, is that a Superman reference in a Marvel book? And then I flip the page over and it's like, there's Clark Kent and Lois Lane. I'm like, are they allowed to do that?
What? It's like, he doesn't call him Clark Kent. He doesn't call him Superman. He's vague enough, but then the guy looks exactly like Clark Kent.
And he calls him a reporter because he's like, "Oh, the reporters are right through here."
Right.
And so Thor opens the door.
Now I'm going to correct that, Ryan, because when the brunette reporter is picking the bespectacled reporter off the ground, she says, "Let's go, Clark. We're going to be late for the conference."
Okay.
Yeah. And I said, because I haven't read 80s comics for so long, I'm like, okay, so they did just flat out make a Superman joke in the Thor book.
And there's a little bit of there's a part about Thor's appearance I want to go back to, but to continue this Clark Kent, clearly this Clark Kent Superman reference. As Clark is getting up off the ground, he said when Lois Lane says, "Let's go, Clark. We're going to be late for the conference." Clark says, "Right away." And then in a thought bubble, he says, "Geez, that looked like, could that have been? I could have sworn." No. So it's like, so hold on. In the Marvel 616 universe, Clark Kent exists, and he's a reporter who is also he recognizes who Thor might be. Like, so to me, this is like Walt was like, okay, I want to put Clark Kent in this book. It doesn't have to make sense. And it's not going to.
Nor should it. I mean, honestly, this is one of those joyful comic nerd moments. Like I giggled as a 45-year-old man reading a Thor book. I giggled and I was like, this is hilarious. I gotta go show my daughters. Like, this is it's so really good. Well executed. And it was easily the best part of this issue for me.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Thor fights a dragon, this was the best part for me.
There is another, so when so to backtrack just a little bit, when Thor kind of reveals his new revamped, blue collar, almost Bruce Springsteen construction worker vibes, he comes out of the door and Nick Fury's like, holy cow, and then Thor's like, oh, is anything wrong? It's like, nah, you look great, man. He's like, I knew those shoulders would give him away. It's like, Nick, calm down, man. Like,
he's definitely scoping him out.
Back away from the God of Thunder, dude. But like those 3 pages were so entertaining to me.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
In so many different levels, because it's like John was saying, like it's comics at its wackiest, and like it doesn't make sense, but it's so much fun. I don't even care.
Completely.
Right.
And it was honestly my favorite part of this issue was the Superman thing and the whole like Nick Fury Loki,
as it should be,
glamming up Thor. So well, and there's one other line where he says like, hey, I got you an apartment in Manhattan, or I got you an apartment in the Bronx because even S.H.I.E.L.D. can't afford Manhattan.
Yep.
It's like,
and this is pre-Giuliani New York, so I mean,
it must have really taxed S.H.I.E.L.D. So there's a few more little lines of story here. We have the construction job that of course within 5 minutes goes terribly wrong. Was there any other we have our sighting of Surtur still forging Twilight, which we've been getting at least a page every issue leading up to this, where we see Surtur gathering his forces, forging the sword Twilight, and most of these pages start with one of Simonson's most famous bits of text, where he says, "Elsewhere beyond the fields we know," which is, I mean, I get goosebumps just reading that. And it's like, basically, that's just Simonson's way of saying like, hey, really far away, this is happening.
Well, and let me ask you this, because I didn't have time before we started recording to look this up, but the percussive doom, is that from Fellowship of the Ring?
I mean,
I feel like that's the sound the drums make in the Mines of Moria.
You know what? You could be entirely right. I don't know the actual answer to that question.
This is why Tolkien people frighten me, because if I'd said that around Tolkien people, they would have immediately pounced.
They're like, listen here, you idiots. Like, of course it's from the Mines of Moria. Coincidentally, I am watching Fellowship right after this.
Nice.
Very good.
Just because every once in a while my wife's like, hey, we should start LOTR again, and I'm like, I will. I refuse to say no.
You have married.
Yeah, I was gonna say you don't have
to.
to
Oh, John, I have. Like,
sorry.
Talk about your comics, and then we can watch Tolkien for the billionth time. Literally, our first date we ever had was sitting on a couch in our dorm lobby watching Fellowship.
And I will say, on our honeymoon, my wife and I finished reading Fellowship to her. We read Two Towers, and then we started Return of the King. Reading it aloud to her.
Man.
So we both rolled Yahtzee. I'm just going to tell you right.
What
now.
an epic bard you must be, John.
Sorry, one other thing before we go to 342.
Yeah.
I really like the backstory of Fafnir, because once again, I mean, it is straight out of the Eddas. It's straight out of the Volsunga saga. Fafnir is the dwarf king, I mean, who murders his brother to steal his treasure. And when he steals the treasure, he becomes the dragon Fafnir, who later on gets slain by Sigurd. So, I mean, once again, I mean, Simonson's, supreme literacy is showing up here. And just because I am a professor in evangelical college, I also have to mention here that Fafnir is also the inspiration for the Eustace becoming a dragon sitting on the treasure hoard
Really?
scene. Yeah, from Voyage
Wow.
of the Dawn Treader.
Ah, that makes so much more sense now.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love that.
that is Lewis being Lewis. He basically mugs medieval mythology and rifles its pockets and puts it in his children's books.
Perfect, as it should be.
What a profound description that was of this image of C.S. Lewis going up to some like medieval scribe and like just mugging him, robbing him, and being like, I'm gonna take all your good stuff and I'm gonna make some epic kids books with it. Oh my gosh. But like we at the end of this issue, we do see an epic fight scene between Thor and Fafnir. Like, so much happens, and at the end of this fight scene, they're underneath the city, and the dragon unleashes like the freaking was it the East River?
Presumably the Hudson River.
Yeah, so he releases a whole river onto Thor, and he's like, well, got to deal with this now. Like, I love that Thor gets those moments where, because he's so powerful, you can put him in situations where like, hey, Thor, a river is coming at you. What do? I do Thor stuff. Whereas
I spin my hammer, of course.
Spidey would have had like 4 quips about it and then like rescued some people, but Spidey can't stop a river. That's why Thor is better. But we have a little epilogue here at the end where Thor has saved Lorelei, and Lorelei kind of starts her plan here,
right?
Where she's going to this Golden Mead plan.
And real quick, Ryan, for the listeners who don't have the book in front of her, front of them, who is Lorelei?
So Lorelei is Amora the Enchantress's sister, and she has a similar vibe and a similar power set as Amora, which up until this point, I could be wrong. There could be a reason why. And hey, Walt Simonson, if you want to come on my podcast and tell me why I'm wrong, that's awesome. So the thing that I always thought is like, okay, she's so much like Amora. Why didn't we just have Amora do this part? And because up until this point, like, Amora has been part of the Masters of Evil. She's been, she's had a few schemes kind of not go her way, but she hasn't really had like a big power play. And I feel like this would have been a cool, like, Amora the Enchantress goes to that next level, and she wins the heart of Thor, with this golden mead. I don't know, that my opinion, which does not matter. Lorelei was not a character I knew much about beforehand, but we're definitely going to become more familiar with her as she tries to become more familiar with our guy Thor.
Everybody's scoping on Thor this issue. Let's just be honest.
Oh my gosh, so much.
Yeah, I'm surprised Fafnir wasn't like, I can do that.
I don't know, lady, you've got some problems. But that brings us to the end of 341.
But real quick, before we say that, I mean, I just want to note that the page before the epilogue, we have Loki looking in and giving this gloriously Shakespearean speech.
Yep.
I mean, I'm going to be doing this all episodes, so I'm sorry, guys.
That's why we bring you here, Nathan.
I mean, what I love about this, I mean, is that Simonson is writing a speech that Edmund from King Lear or Iago from Othello could have been reciting while the hero is about to fall into his trap.
Yep.
And, I mean, again, I mean, in some ways, I like Simonson's Loki so much more than I like the MCU Loki, even though I love Tom Hiddleston. And Tom, I love you if you're listening. But if
you want to come onto the podcast, Tom Hiddleston, and tell Nathan how wrong he is.
That's right. But the funny thing is, I've also seen Tom Hiddleston in a lot of Shakespearean productions. So go figure. But like I said, I mean, I love this version of Loki. I mean, who is being the Shakespearean villain, right? I mean, he is personally slighted because he knows he is superior to all the people who have advantage in the world. And not only is he going to plot, but he's going to tell you about every one of his plots.
Yep.
So I know that you laid out a very awesome, rich, higher education reason for why this is cool. Here was my pull. As I'm reading that, I'm like, oh my gosh, Loki's totally monologuing. And that reminded me of Syndrome from The Incredibles.
Oh man,
like, you caught me monologuing.
Yeah.
And so I'm sorry, Nathan.
No, that's all right.
It's our difference in education.
No, but it's a classic villain trope, right? They're always the ones that are the thinking ones that have these plans that have these Machiavellian ideas of what they're going to try to achieve. So seeing him there, twiddling his fingers and smiling over all the chess
and I guess
pieces
all I would add to that is that we have Shakespeare and Milton to thank for that.
Right. Absolutely.
Oh, it's just
the devil on their throne.
Yes. So let's move on to 342. It's the next part in our Fafnir story, but really this is our introduction to Elif the Lost, who is the remaining Viking of a community that was stranded within kind of like a savage land type like Arctic paradise under
Antarctic.
Okay, here's the thing. Since John is the X-Men guy, I almost didn't say Savage Land because I was like, oh, what if this is wrong?
I thought it was, but I was like, wait, is there two Savage Lands in the 616?
This is a savage suburb.
Yeah, right. I was like, what's going on? Why didn't just call it Savage Land and just team up? I love it. Give me some sound flying through.
Because there's so many different people groups in the Savage Land. It's like you could have just thrown some Vikings in there too.
Where's Khazar?
Absolutely.
Khazar can swing through, and
this was our opportunity to see Khazar fight a Viking.
Yeah, all these ripped, blonde, long-haired guys can team up.
Yeah, it's Lorelei's paradise.
Right.
So
Nick Fury's paradise.
Nick Fury's paradise. Oh, those shoulders.
Why not both?
Watch where you swing those shoulders, man. The first page that we have in this issue is stunning.
Yeah,
I love the opening splash page of the tops of the castles and the buildings. Simonson's very like Norse longhouse, kind of form of castle, not a Kirby, not a Buscema, Asgard. This is very stylized in like an ancient Norse mythology kind of vibe. So, but then there's that huge galactic like
Jim Starlin-esque, like
yes,
skyline, right?
It is Starlin's, gosh, pick anything, I guess.
The cosmic like energy of space.
And it's a crazy opening splash, but then we see that Odin is having a feast and there's a missing chair in the halls of Valhalla as they're feasting. So that will come into play in a few issues when we get to the conclusion of that kind of that loose end. But this issue really is about Thor going to seek out a voice that is calling for him. It's Elif the Lost calling for a challenger so that he can enter the halls of Valhalla. Which, by the way, there were several points in these comics that we're reading tonight where I got goosebumps because of how epic stuff sounded. And I'm reading Elif's story. He's the last survivor of these Vikings that have stumbled upon this savage land, but not the savage land kind of area in Antarctica. And he wants to die with valor. He wants to go out on his shield, to borrow the phrase. And Thor goes through his labyrinth of obstacles, very Temple of Doom-esque.
Yep.
To get to Elif, and when he gets there, he realizes, oh, this powerful warrior is an old man.
Right.
And Elif has been there since the time of his people, waiting for a challenge that would warrant him getting into Valhalla. He actually, different Indiana Jones reference. He's the knight at the end of Last Crusade.
There it is.
Yeah.
Where he's fulfilled his duty, and he's been there forever. I never understood that movie as a kid, where I was like, but he's so old. Like, and I didn't even know when the Crusades were, but needless to say, the knight in Last Crusade had been there for a long time. But we also see that Fafnir is not done, and neither is Lorelei. She is brewing up a love potion number 9 for her guy, Mr. Thor. And that's kind of those are the plot threads that kind of get us through this. Not a transition issue, but we're still kind of connecting things, because we've gotten our big battle with Fafnir, and now we're introducing Elif the Lost as this character who's going to eventually team up with Thor to fight the dragon in that noble battle that he's desired for so long. But we get a little bit of Lorelei. We see that Fafnir is still there. We get our Balder kind of, our peek in with what Balder's doing. And then, of course, our splash page was Surtur. But guys, what stood out from you? What stood out for you? What did you enjoy about 342, this Viking saga type, story?
Okay, this one was the English Professor's Paradise.
Okay, here we go. Let's do it.
Elif the Lost is from the army of Harold Hardrada. Which is probably a name that means nothing to most people. I happen to teach Old English, so I know that is the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, year 1066. Everyone knows, or maybe not everyone, but you should know.
John and I know, but for people that maybe don't know, maybe explain. It's that scene from The Office where it's like, okay, I understand how a lemonade stand works, but can explain it to me like I'm a third grader.
But in the year 1066, the Normans, led by William the Conqueror, overrun Harold Godwin's kingdom of Wessex and establish, the French-speaking Normans as the lords of the island of Britain. But that is the second war that Harold Godwin had to fight. Before he fought the French-speaking Norman Vikings, he defeated the Norwegian-speaking Vikings led by King Harold Hardrada. And so, again, just this supremely literate moment where, this is the forgotten Viking army from 1066 that Elif the Lost is part of. And like I said, my old English students over the years know this story. I know this story. And, Walt Simonson knows this story, and it's just glorious.
Oh,
yeah,
dude. Like, again, I know I've said it multiple times. I'll probably say it a few more times. This is why you bring Nathan Gilmour onto your comic book podcast when you're talking about Viking stuff, man.
Right. But one thing, and now this is my last English professor moment. Then I can hand it over to John. But
not at all. You come on.
It doesn't have to be.
It does not. Have to be.
for issue 342. How about that?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We'll stick to that.
One thing to remember is that Viking is not an ethnicity. All right. Viking is a profession. In the sagas, you often run into retired Vikings, and I, for one, have never met a retired Swede or a retired Norwegian. But I have met retired Marines, and that's basically what a retired Viking is, right? So in the Northern European world, there's 3 big Viking empires: the Danes and the Norwegians, and the Normans. All right. And the Normans are on the northern coast of the mainland. The Danes are from farther east, and then of course the Norwegians are from Norway, and then the Swedes occasionally get mixed up in there too, but that's another story entirely. But once again, what we get is the Viking that calls out to Thor is not a Danish Viking, he's not a Norman Viking, he's a Norwegian Viking. So even that Simonson gets right. I'm geeking out. I really am.
I love that. Simonson got stuff so right that 40 years later, Nathan is sitting here like, oh my gosh, this comic book, this children's comic book is so...
Well, and when I read these stories as a kid, of course I didn't have this education, but now returning to it, it's like, oh my gosh, there is so much cool stuff going on here that I didn't see when I was a kid.
Now, John, if you are able to, can you flex your
I was gonna
expansive
jokingly
knowledge
say,
on
so
Old Norse literature?
one of the critiques that my friends had with me is that I'm really hard on comics, and so I will flex my muscle of I really did not like this issue, and I will
Okay.
say it's not for substance, it's for form. Like, it skips around constantly. I felt like I wanted more Fafnir right off the bat. Okay, the Fafnir thing is going to continue on here, and it was like, no, we're throwing that whole plot line out. We'll give you one page later on in the middle of the book. We're going to jump into this whole other storyline, and then just when that's getting interesting, we're going to skip away and give you some Balder stuff, even though you're like, why are we jumping to Balder now? And we're going to come back, and then we're going to skip away to Surtur, then we're going to come back, and then we're going to jump over to Lorelei, and then we're going to come back, and it's like I was getting dizzy like a record skipping.
Okay.
For me,
I
was just
I agree with that. I agree
like,
with
there
that.
was no consistency of plot for me. It was just a lot of exposition, and I do view this as a transition exposition dump. And the good news is it makes 343 heart-wrenching and powerful because you have all the setup.
Right.
But it's like the opening of Return of the Jedi, or Raiders of the Lost Ark, where Indy's gonna get the chalkboard out, draw the map on the floor, and this is how the little thing works. Let me get this book out. Let me teach you guys all this stuff. Then later, when we go to the map room, we have this amazing scene without dialogue where we're like, wow, what an amazing moment.
We understand it
because we've taught us all this stuff earlier.
Right.
So it's important. That's just really hard to read. Compared to the last issue and the next issue, that, it's definitely a step down for me.
And to jump ahead to 344, I mean, the same kind of thing goes along there too, because in the one page Forging of Twilight scene, I mean, the key line is Twilight is tempered, and then you get pages and pages of Balder being tempered, right? In other words, I mean, his metal is being tested, to use the pun, right? So I mean, Simonson, I mean, can be a lot more careful in the way that the chain in the way that the links chain together.
He's
and
got
in
a
this
lot
issue,
of
you're right, he's not.
There's so many threads going on, and thankfully I felt really grounded after getting through the Beta Ray Bill story, that I felt like I could understand all the pieces he was trying to keep moving on the story, because he is building a bigger game here. It's very Claremont-esque, where I've got a lot of big plot pieces I want to like keep going at all times, but I'm going to tell this story for this issue. Right. And so it's tricky. It's a tricky juggling act.
I'm glad that you referenced Claremont there, because I don't know Claremont's X-Men, but I know, how do you say, I have heard enough about the form of how he writes, where it's like, hey, you remember that one panel 20 issues ago? Yeah, we're gonna do a whole event based around that one panel.
Exactly.
So it's like, wait, hold on, I forgot that panel happened. And he's like, I knew you forgot it happened. Like, so I feel like maybe Simonson's got like 4 or 5 stories going here.
Exactly, which is
it
like
feels
amazing.
very soap opera-esque.
Yeah, of course.
Where I use this analogy to describe Jason Aaron's Thor, because that's, listeners of the show know, like, it is my holy grail.
As it should be.
And Nathan sat through a panel where I had to restrain my my love of the God Butcher storyline to like 5 minutes, and I still went over, because at the end of the panel we're like, do one thing that you would require people to read, and I feel like Nathan and I were the ones that like were sitting at the end of the table like, we're gonna go over, we just know it.
And we did
unabashedly and unashamedly we went over.
Yes.
But I feel like it's almost like a stovetop. So if you have 5 burners on a stovetop, you heat ones up at certain times,
right?
Like, you're trying to cool this down, and then you're trying to keep that at temperature. You're trying to boil this one over. It's like a stovetop where you've got things on different heats, and issue to issue, you're turning up and lowering the heat on certain things.
Which again is very common of this era of Marvel. Like Bronze and Copper era Marvel did this a ton. So I mentioned Claremont because it's another example where I think in this case, Thor is almost a team book. You have all these characters. It's not just a Thor book. It's not just a streamlined one character, main character story. It's almost got an Avengers or X-Men style, because you want to know where Loki is at this point in the story. You want to know where Odin is. You need to know where Balder is. So all of those little pieces need to be at least given a moment.
Yeah, that's
right.
And that's where I think like there's a lot of similarities between Jason Aaron's run of Thor and Simonson's run of Thor. I think that's one of the most overt ones, is that you like Simonson doesn't just care about Thor. He cares about everybody. He's trying to give everybody something to do. And he's trying to give everybody kind of a purpose and a plot. Aaron did the same thing. Even when Thor didn't have the hammer, he was doing stuff. You know, the Warriors 3 were doing things, you know, Sif's doing stuff, Odin's doing stuff. And those are honestly my favorite runs of Thor, because Thor is the kind of comic, and Nathan, maybe you can expand on this because you know this style of literature a little bit better than I. It feels epic because it's written in an epic way. There's it's big, it's grand.
It's the
huge.
scope. It's the scope
It's
of
the
what you're
scope.
seeing, right? Not only like, sorry, I just jumped on Nathan, even though you said it.
No, rock and roll, man.
You set up all these characters, you set up all these locales, you set up all these problems, and it's not just a one character in a one setting kind of thing. It's this tapestry that expands across all these dimensions, all these planes of existence.
I'm sorry, Nathan.
No. He's right. He's right. I'm not gonna gainsay any of that.
There's another, because another thing is that, like, it's my one last comparison of runs for now. If you read the current run of Thor, which I have greatly enjoyed at points, I've enjoyed the artwork. Nick Klein's artwork is stupendous. I'm still mad that he's leaving to go do Hulk. And that storyline, though, for the most part, it's 22 pages of what's Thor doing. I don't think the Warriors 3 have shown up in a year. I don't think Sif shows up very sporadically. Jane shows up sporadically. The Runa Valkyrie character shows up sporadically. Odin's a hammer now. Odin's within. He's inside the Mjolnir that he enchanted. Like, there's a lot going on, but for the most part, it's about 18, 19 pages of Thor in a 22 page book. And that's fine, but to me, it takes away from what John said. It takes away from the scope. It takes away from the grandeur of these 9 realms that you know, and everything's got, you know, everything's so big and bold. And sometimes runs like focus in on Thor, and where I agree with John, maybe Thor should be treated more like a team book. And I've never really thought of that before, John, but now I'm probably not going to be able to stop that.
Isn't Asgard the main character? Isn't it? I mean, you could argue it's a King of England, War of Roses, Game of Thrones kind of thing, where you're talking about the main character is the ruling structure that's happening,
right?
And all of those realms. You know, how do you do you know, Hamlet without discussing Denmark? How do you remove a political, you know, dynasty, a ruling royal family, and then take them out of the universe that they're in charge of?
That's, oh my gosh. I mean, I've thought of comparing Thor to Game of Thrones kind of just like in passing, but I've never really thought of it in a structure point of view. It's like, well, who's the main character of Game of Thrones? I'm like, well, I could maybe name you 3 or 4 people, but let's be honest, the realm is the main character,
right?
But anyway, as we've waxed poetic at the end of this one. But any other thoughts on 342, guys? I know we've expanded on it quite a bit.
Just one more geek moment. At the very beginning, they're having that grand council in the Great Hall of Odin, and he consults with a figure called Saga, which reminds me of the Great Hall after the slaying of Grendel and Beowulf, where one of the main characters in that scene is the Shope, the poet. So once again, I mean, it's just a one frame reference, but it's fun. It's fun.
Oh my gosh. I love how happy you are. Okay. So everybody, we are going to take a brief break. We are going to refill our mead goblets, and we are going to, Nathan's going to fan himself off because of all the excitement. And we're going to be back on the other side of a brief break where John is going to break down 343, the return of Fafnir, and Elif's last battle. Okay, everybody, I hope you're enjoying this awesome Simonson Saga episode. We're having just so much fun with John and with Nathan. We're going to take this brief break, though, to remind you that we have a Patreon. You can join the Thor Corps for just a few months or a few bucks a month. That's not, we hope you join for many months, but for a few bucks a month, you can get early episodes, bonus episodes, and we even throw up polls on Patreon where you get to decide what we do for bonus episodes. We've got a lot of fun stuff planned over there on Patreon, and our Thor Corps is our main level of support. You can join that for $5 a month, and we have a top tier, and Faz would absolutely just ridicule me if I hadn't mentioned what the top tier of our Patreon is. That is Listener Prime. You can become Listener Prime for just a little bit more, few more shekels a month, and you basically become our best friend. You become the fourth member of the Warriors 3. You become our Lady Sif. You become our Balder the Brave. You become our Tooth Gnasher and our Tooth Grinder. You become that top tier supporter. But the members of the Thor Corps that have been supporting us for a while over on Patreon, and we just appreciate them so much, are Will, Joshua, Eric B, Phil, Drew, Trip, Haley, Joseph, Jason, and Eric T. Thank you, each and every one of you, for supporting us over on Patreon. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. And we hope you're enjoying the bonus episodes. This week on our bonus episode, we are going to go back to the roots, to the first appearance of Fafnir in Marvel Comics. I know Nathan has talked a lot about how great the sagas are and how great he is in Norse mythology. Well, I only know Marvel Comics. So we're going back to Fafnir's first appearance in Marvel Comics. That is going to be the Tales of Asgard stories from Thor 134 through 136. So we're going to go do those Tales of Asgards. And I mean, seriously, Tales of Asgard stories from Kirby. I mean, you can't beat it. Maybe we can try with our Simonson Saga. But anyway, we hope you go and check us out on Patreon. If you're able to support us, we would really appreciate it. But even if you're just going to keep listening to episodes, keep doing that. We hope you enjoy the second half of the second part of our Simonson Saga with John and Nathan. Okay, everybody, we're back. We have refilled our goblets to overflowing with delicious beverages, and Nathan has stopped perspirating, and he's revamped for these next few issues. But we're gonna hand the reins over to John to tell us what 343 has for us. This one truly epic. I know we've used the word epic in a few different ways tonight. 343 was it had everything.
Yeah, I think what I liked about it was obviously it's got action and it's got the feels. Like it worked for me on an emotional level, like for what the characters are going through, but then it works as well on just a roller coaster ride of enjoyment. So this one, did you say it's Elif?
I'm trying to think.
I'm struggling with the Viking.
Yeah, I haven't studied Norse in too long. I mean, the Old English vowel would be Elif.
You know what, Nathan? I'm a little rusty as well.
It's been a while. So I'm gonna go with Elif.
Well, let's rock it.
So Elif is basically dealing with the dilemma of wanting to get to Valhalla, wanting to achieve this end to his long life, but at the same time being fearful that he's missed his opportunity at this point. And so at the beginning, it's Thor really trying to convince him that this is your opportunity. You know, Fafnir's back, he's destroying New York. this is your opportunity. So he's got to try to convince him to do this. And he even says at one point, you know, Odin would let you in. Let's wait for a sign from Odin. Odin will be the one. And then I love that there's like, it even says 30 minutes later, like they had to wait 30 minutes for a sign from Odin, because he's like, Dad, you're hearing me, right? Like this guy could get into Valhalla, right? And it's like 30 minutes of nope. I mean, at some point you'd think like, no, maybe it's nothing.
It's the old SpongeBob thing. It's like 38 minutes later.
It's exactly what I thought. And then of course the sign arrives, right? It's the chariot of the two pulled by the two goats, Thor's is it Tooth Gnasher and
Tooth Grinder.
Tooth Grinder. They come flying in, and then there's a winged steed as well, as if it's like you
Cloud Rider.
You get the winged steed, which I gotta say, I might prefer the winged steed.
With a mohawk. It's like it doesn't have a mane,
cool.
it has
it's
a
like
mohawk.
Jet black, like obsidian. It's like really cool. In fact, that's my favorite page. Like that splash page is just stunning.
So I don't know, John, if you noticed the wings on it, there's one panel where his wings look like Archangel's wings.
Oh, yeah.
Where they're kind of like pointed at, like, I'm a big Archangel
Yeah.
fan. So I was like, oh my gosh, maybe
that's Louis. I mean, that's Louise, right? That was Louise on X Factor right there.
I'm looking for any X-Men reference that I can.
Do it. All day. But so, okay, yes. Then he still, Elif still is not fully convinced. He still thinks I'm too old. I can't do this. He's got to touch Thor's hammer. Thor, this is an ability I was not aware that Thor had. He de-ages Elif to make him feel and look younger. It's the hammer is the fountain of youth in some manner here.
Why not?
He de-ages him, and then he's like, get on your horse. We're going to rock this. And they go flying off to battle this amazing fight with the dragon, which I don't know if you want me to get into all the spoiler specifics of that.
Go ahead, and then we can.
It's got highs and lows, right? Like, can they defeat it? There, Thor calls down all the power he could possibly do. He hits Fafnir with everything he's got. Even young re-youth Elif gives his best. They're really just struggling, and Thor just gets pounded after giving everything he's got. And then Elif decides, this is how I'm gonna go out. He just jams his spear as hard as he can into Fafnir, and Fafnir's barely like, yeah, you got me. He blows him back, absolutely kills Elif. And then Thor sees that the spear is it's wedged in. It's actually broken through the armor of Fafnir. And then he's like, I can hammer a nail, right? My hammer and the nail.
I can hammer a nail.
So he comes flying in, and he just pounds that spear all the way into Fafnir and lays waste and defeats him. That's the main story. Obviously we get some side stories, as we've mentioned from previous issues, but I feel like what I loved about this issue was it was way more streamlined. The jumps to other stuff worked and fit better, more seamlessly for me. And the main story was so beautiful. Obviously at the end we get the Viking funeral, right? The goodbye to Elif and the journey to beyond. And it's even including Fafnir. They even include Fafnir as like part of this like honor to the gods. We're gonna feast on this dragon.
And an NYPD deputy explains the significance of the dragon
that
for
was
us.
the best part. It's like, who's most qualified?
Sarge, you see, in a Viking
Corporal?
funeral, when you put the dog at his feet, that's part of the ceremony.
I mean, any Palooka knows that. There's so much going on
that might
here.
have been my favorite gag in this issue.
It works so well.
What's kind of crazy about this is John just mentioned, like, we say goodbye to Elif in this issue. We've only known him for 2 issues. Like, but the character feels like he has so much depth and substance when he dies. Like he's actually made a sacrifice, and we feel like we know his mindset, that he wants a seat in Valhalla. He wants glory. He wants to die for something meaningful. And Odin and Thor both honor him in specific ways throughout this throughout this issue. I do find it funny when Odin shows up. Guys, who does he look like? Like, he clearly looks like one person, and it's Gandalf the Grey.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like, and I can't get Lord of the Rings out of my head when I look at him. It's like, hey Odin, or sorry, the stranger, who's clearly Odin. That kind of reminds me of, like, and I'm sure Nathan has a deep pull for this one, but like when gods would show up in human guises and people would be like,
goodness,
hey,
yeah.
You're that guy. They're like, no, totally. I'm a different guy. Not it's like Odin, at least do like the Obi-Wan mind trick. Like, at least tell him this, not the All-Father you're looking for.
I mean, let's be honest, he could look any way he chooses.
He
right?
could change his appearance.
He doesn't need to look like himself.
But no,
right.
Worst undercover spy. These mortals will never figure it out. They think my son's not Thor, and all he did was put on glasses. Like, what do I need to
do? Oh man, I love that the two times that Odin has shown up, like when he goes to Nidavellir and has Eitri forge Stormbreaker, they're like, hey stranger, it's like, Odin, what's up, man? Like, what do you need? It's like, nope, not Odin, totally different guy. And now it's like Elif calls him grandfather, and he's like, nope, I'm the stranger. I'm the stranger. Oh my gosh.
Shoot.
But this, I think John said this really well. It's like we get this big, huge up and down action fight scene that turns into a Godzilla like kaiju fight in the middle of New York, because so much stuff gets destroyed, and they're trying every which way to put him down. And then Elif kind of, he lays down the sacrifice bunt, and he's able to win. He helps win the battle in a huge way.
Right. And I mean, in this one, you've done the kaiju. Now I'm going to do the English professor. But I mean,
just want to talk about giant monsters.
Well, no. It's a different giant monster, because okay, I mean, good. Because Walt Simonson, I mean, pivots from the Fafnir story, even though the character is still named Fafnir, and he retells the Beowulf dragon story in this issue. Right. So, I mean, Elif the Lost, is the unfaithful Thane. I mean, he doesn't want to go into battle. He thinks he's going to die in the battle. Right. And, Thor gives him a series of, in poetry, they're called ubi sunt questions. Right. Okay. And let me flip over to the page so I don't get the words wrong here. But let me see here. And the pages are going to be different in mine because it's the omnibus. But it is, trying to look here. It's the page after Carnilla's looking very pinup. But he tells Thor he's too old. I fear no towering foe, but I can only dishonor myself in the battle and be no aid to you. And Thor's response has a long pedigree in medieval poetry. He says, what words are these I hear? Where is the warrior who dared to call out the gods who out of the sky? Who has lifted his weapon against the mightiest father of Asgard? Whose people dared the furious elements of the ocean in open boats and laughed at the fear? Does he seek an easy death? This is something that isn't always part of a pre-battle speech, but it often is. And like I said, the poetic term is ubi sunt, ubi for where, and sunt are. Where are the warriors? Where are the fighters? Where are the men with their weapons? Where are the, so on and so forth. And, it gets used all over in medieval poetry. So once again, that's a glorious, literary moment. But then, Elif holds the shield for Thor, which is what Wiglaf does for Beowulf, as Beowulf fights his dragon. Elif wounds the dragon, which is what Wiglaf does, but he does not kill the dragon. Beowulf does, just like Thor ends up killing Fafnir, right? And so, I mean, what's fascinating here is, I mean, it's not I wouldn't call it a ripoff, but I would call it, Simonson deploying all of these great elements. And, you said that, we are invested in Elif, even though we just met him. I mean, in one sense, yeah, we just met him last issue. in another sense, we've known him for 1,000 years,
Right.
because he is Wiglaf.
He's a reincarnation, something old, something new.
Absolutely. And then, the glorious, Viking funeral, which is also, the opening scene of Beowulf is the funeral of shield chafing. So, the 343 in my book is the Beowulf issue, because it is, this glorious reimagining, and I can't remember, are they fighting in New York City still?
Yes.
Yeah, they are. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Because so many of the frames, the background is blurred from the motion, right? But yeah, it's Beowulf in New York City, and I love it.
It's the climactic battle. Like, everything's been building. It's funny because speaking of Claremont again, like, he had this habit too of like teasing you with the main villain and then pulling him away for a couple issues, and then 2 later they're going to basically have the same fight again, but now it's the climax battle. So we get basically Fafnir round 2 here,
Right?
But it's just, there's so much more time spent on it because of all the great setup that now it pays off.
Right. And then the other thing is, and I actually, once again, Ryan, I'm failing here in my English professor role. But
I don't think you failed one bit, Nathan. I feel like the listeners are going to be like, "Whoa, is it? Are we still talking about comics here?" Like,
yeah, but I don't know if there is a literary antecedent. But when we are in the forging of Twilight, the fact that the sword in this issue gets named Twilight, immediately my mind goes to Wagner's opera about Ragnarok called Twilight of the Gods. So once again, Simonson doesn't just stay in the 13th century in Northern Europe. He also goes to 19th century German opera.
If there's one guy that's gonna do it, I don't doubt Walt for a second. Well, and I think a lot of in the next portion, and obviously when we get to the finale of the Surtur saga, Surtur does say many times that he will be the doom of the gods. He will bring about their end, which for those that maybe aren't familiar with
Gulter Damarung, that's the name of that part of the ring cycle.
God, that sounded cool. But
sorry, it just now came to my mind. I wanted to say it before I forgot.
we will cover the week that we do the Surtur saga in a few months, month or so. We are going to do more Surtur stuff on the bonus episode. But one thing you need to know about Surtur in Marvel Comics, everybody, is he does not have a deep history. Like Surtur, his first appearance, Surtur gets kind of jobbed out. Him as the fire demon, like they just call him the fire demon like most of the issue, and a random storm giant, they get released onto Midgard. Loki releases them, and Odin's like, well, I've got to go deal with this stuff on Midgard. Hey, Loki, will you watch the throne while I'm gone? And he's like, of course I will. Of course. It's like, Odin, you idiot. Like, why? Yeah. You're a bad dad and you're an even worse king. Like, come on. But Surtur does not have this deep, rich history, which kind of makes like the expanding of this character and the drawing out of him even cooler to me. That Simonson's like, no, Surtur's my big bad. And it's like, oh, the guy that like has shown up 3 or 4 times and really has never been a threat to Thor or Asgard on a big level. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna make him like the most epic villain that that this comic has seen yet. But speaking of like big epic things, I wanted to read what Thor says at Elif's funeral. Yeah, because it is epic. He throws Fafnir like near the pyre, and they, we're getting the play-by-play from the guys on the ground. Not only Chuck Churtle, the reporter from the local TV station, but also the guys, the Sarge and Corporal, and all the vague army terms. Thor is trying to honor his fallen comrade when he says this: hear me, you elements, hear me, storms, rise up in your wrath. A warrior hath died this day, and you shall carry him to his destiny. No longer Elif the Lost, but Elif the Dragon Slayer. Strike now and fire this holy mound. And the pyre erupted in glory. Then we see Elif soaring away on his winged steed, like John said, made of obsidian and mohawks. And the Valkyrie are flying into Valhalla, and I'm like, this is why Thor comics are metal as hell.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and Ryan, don't leave the big element out. And then Odin is in the background, as big as the horizon.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Gandalf the Allfather is in the background. And yeah, the narration boxes say, for a moment the entire city lies stunned with blinding light, but only a few see more than a play of lightning and dancing shadows. None see the looming figure that towers over all, as Father Odin and his Valkyrie maidens welcome the last Viking into Valhalla. Like, come on.
It's epic.
Like,
yeah.
That's epic.
It's
And
grand.
like, yeah, it's not Beta Ray Bill. It's not going to be Malekith. It's not Surtur, but it's fantastic stuff.
Yeah, it is.
It's just a very different story from Beta Ray Bill, which I think is why it gets compared to that. And it's so quick on the heels of Beta Ray Bill, which is a classically Marvel story with like two heroes that fight each other. We're introducing the new guy. So it ticks all the boxes for a classic Marvel book where fans would be all geeking for it. This checks the box for a classic Thor story, right? Big monster, Thor with big stakes, lots of things going on in the universe, and then some wonderful like emotional core things happening where we get to see what is this all about? What is this like warrior king lifestyle about? And it's the people you fight next to, right? It's the people you're on the front line with.
Yeah, right.
There's this battle line soldier veteran mentality thing happening here that's kind of cool.
And that is a theme that if you look at the first three parts of our Simonson saga, Thor is paired up with a sidekick that has his own problems, has his own struggles. In the first one, Beta Ray Bill is, no offense, Beta Ray Bill fans, he's the sidekick. It's still Thor's name on the cover. In this part that we're talking about today, Elif the Lost is his sidekick character. I mean, literally, he's his shield bearer. And then in the next part, we're going to see maybe his most unhinged sidekick, Roger Willis, the Korean veteran with the magic fairy killing gun. Kid you not, it does not disappoint. And we're gonna have a lot of fun with that character. But before we leave 343, guys, we got to talk about the last page. It is kind of weird and kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Thor is all dejected after losing his friend, and he says that basically all of these things that were familiar to him are now away. Sif is off with Beta Ray Bill. He's not Donald Blake anymore. He's not really hanging with the Avengers. And then he hears a knock at the door, and it's Lorelei,
the stalker.
Who we now know
he's getting fatal attraction, and we just don't see it.
And she tells him that she's Melody. Well, we know that's not true. And then at the end, the last panel, the exterior of the apartment, we hear the door shut. And Lorelei says, "I know what you need, a good back rub. It will take all those nasty kinks right out." And then she's like, "Why don't you take your shirt off?" And it's like, okay, this is a Thor comic. It's like a Thor movie. It's like, hey, Hemsworth, shirty off. But that's where we leave Thor. He's gonna fight a different kind of battle next issue. So and
of course on the very first page we get Lorelei looking very centerfold watching TV while Fafnir rages. So I mean, it's bizarre.
I mean, doesn't care.
This grand Beowulf story is bookended by Lorelei.
Yeah, it's by Lorelai, just go looking as only she can look. So okay, here we go. Nathan, 344.
344.
I would say this is your time to shine, but you've educated us thoroughly. Maybe I shouldn't do episodes with teachers anymore because I end up learning. Darn it. Okay, Nathan, here you go, man.
So as this episode opens, we start not with Thor, but with Balder. He is in the chambers of Karnilla, and he is approached by Gary, the dire wolf of Odin. Is that not how it's pronounced?
I know. I love that his name just phonetically is like Gary.
Yeah, well, okay. But at any
Gary
rate,
the wolf.
Yeah, all the names that we can't pronounce up to now, and then the wolf is just Gary.
Gary.
So Odin has summoned him back to Asgard because Odin sent out 2 ravens and only one returned. And so he is gathering his heroes to prepare for whatever is coming. In the meantime, back in Brooklyn, is it Brooklyn or the Bronx where his apartment is?
He's in Brook.
I thought it was Brooklyn, but I could be wrong.
Okay, because we've said both, and I didn't want to slow down, so but now that I'm in charge of it, I want to get it right. So back in Brooklyn, our friend Sigurd Jarlson, has nearly been fatally seduced by Lorelai, disguised as Melody, but he fell asleep because he's so tired, and so in a Wile E. Coyote moment, she leaves a note and goes off to order more equipment from the Acme catalog so that she can catch him next time. At that point, we return to Balder. He is on the charge, heading back to Asgard. No, strike that, heading out from Asgard to go to the castle of Loki. And he is, going through, kind of a grand medieval gauntlet of environmental hazards until finally he is beset as he approaches Loki's castle by figures that he thinks are trolls. But then he says, wait, these are no trolls. These are... Cut to the next scene. We're back in the forge. We've got more doom. Twilight is tempered. Then really for the rest of the... I'm going to say for the majority of the rest, I mean, we get a brief Sigurd Jarlson gag, which we'll talk about, I'm sure. But really for most of the rest of the issue, we are following Balder. And I love this because we find out that, Balder has been given, for lack of a better phrase, a special dispensation from Odin to cease being a warrior of Asgard so long as he remains a servant of Asgard. So in this version of Asgard, there is conscientious objector status, and Balder has it, which, like I said, was tripping me out pretty hard. We can talk about that more later. But in this moment in Loki's castle, he unearths the fact that Loki is allied with Malekith, the Dark Elf, and he realizes that, if he doesn't stop this alliance from coming to fruition, that there could be, I think the number he throws around is trillions that die. And so, yeah. I mean, in one of the grand lines of the issue, I think, well, first of all, in one of the great visuals of the issue, Balder, who has said many times that he will not kill ever again, there's just a frame where you see his hand reach for the sword hilt. Ugh. And you know what's about to happen. And then, just a couple pages later, he utters, I mean, the most heartbreaking line of the issue: conscience, I cast thee aside.
Oh my gosh.
Now I'm going to go ahead and reiterate, and we will revisit this. That is so far from a medieval sentiment that is unimaginable in a medieval poem, but it's all right because this is a modern comic. Yes. But Balder, engages in battle. He slays demons. Eventually, when he realizes that, Malekith has disappeared, he says, Loki, I mean, you cannot do this. And Loki says, no, I've already made the deal. And then, as Loki, I think, turns his back to him, I think that's what the visual is.
Yeah.
Balder lashes out, and you see the sound effect of Loki's head hitting the ground. And on the next page, Carnilla is looking in, and she picks up Balder, in her, her orb of seeing for the first time in several pages. And her line, no, it's not her line. It's her little toady. He says, "'Tis Balder, my lady, but his face, look at his face. He has the look of the damned about him." So, I mean, this is an issue that is all about Balder. It is all about, this contest between duties, right? His duty to his own soul, and his duty to Asgard, and his duty to everything that lives. And all three of those he cannot satisfy. And because he can't, he becomes Balder the Damned. So it is a dark issue. But again, I mean, the writing, I think, was masterful.
There's gosh, I mean, yeah, there were so many points in this where I'm like, man, that sentence must have just like, well, like writing this script, like he must have been like, that was a pretty good sentence. Like that's a pretty good text bubble I just did.
Mhm.
I would like to point out to everybody that this is the first full appearance ever of Malekith the Accursed.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So we've seen him in shadow before, but we have not seen him fully revealed. And Surtur refers to him as, his servant, the Dark Elf, but he doesn't call him Malekith. He doesn't call him Malekith the Accursed or whatever. But this, we see Malekith, and this is 344 is considered Malekith's first appearance.
Okay.
And yeah, a very affordable first appearance, by the way, everybody. So yeah, just a little note about that. This is where Simonson's story of Malekith kind of begins at the end of this Balder issue. So John, you had some thoughts about this one, and I would love for you to, like, was this one like as convoluted as 342 for you, or
no? It wasn't. I think it didn't skip around nearly as much, and I think it was in that way superior to a lot of the issues I had with 342. I think it finally gave value and weight to what we had seen in snippets of Balder's story spread across the 3 issues preceding this, and even into the I want to say he was in the Beta Ray Bill they were giving him time in those stories as well, these little side bits, and it was a very Claremont or bronze copper age thing to do, which is these little breadcrumbs were dropped along the way, and now here's the main course. Like this is where the payoff of that is. So but this is a sink or swim issue for a lot of fans, I would imagine, because either you liked the Balder story and you were all in for this, or you were like, where's my Thor? Like, I think you're going to have those two people, right, that are going to be one or the other. For me, there was enough breadcrumbs that were interesting enough to me that this was a payoff that I enjoyed. I don't necessarily know the Balder character beyond these issues that I read. I don't know. I don't have any reference point for the character beyond this. But for me, like, it paid off, versus I could understand a hardcore Thor fan being like, yeah, let's get back to the main story.
So I will say this, Simonson does a lot with Balder. Like, and he actually ends up, Balder gets his own miniseries in the middle of this long epic run that we're going to devote a whole episode to later on. Where we're going to talk all about Balder and Carnilla's weird obsession with him. Right? He's perfect and I must have him. And then Balder's like, oh no, you're evil and I can't be with you. And she's like, yeah, but it would be so fun if you were. And like, it's a weird, they have a very weird romantic, pretty sexual tension throughout a lot of from these comics going on, even into like Jason Aaron's run, when Carnilla becomes co-queen of hell with Hela. Balder is he's unseated as king of Niflheim. It's a whole thing. But
I'm gonna say I've read the Aaron run. I don't remember him in it, so maybe I wasn't focusing enough on those individuals.
John, maybe this will jog your memory. Do you remember when Balder shows up? Thor and Loki show up in hell, and Balder meets them in his monster truck.
That's Balder, the monster truck driver. Okay.
So
for me, it was just like another character in this
no,
epic universe.
That's
and I had no frame of reference for him. Okay.
When we interviewed Mike Del Mundo, he was the artist on that part of Aaron's run. I said to him, I was like, okay, we got to talk about this monster truck, because Baldur's like this chivalrous, knight in shining armor character, and then he becomes king of hell, and then he starts, he's hanging out with Scourge the Executioner in a monster truck. Like, Jason Aaron, like, your brain must be like just this chaos, this mosh pit of ideas. But yeah, we're gonna get more Baldur. We're gonna get a lot of Baldur later on. So there's one character we haven't really talked about a lot, and I feel like maybe he's a good place to land our discussion, is Loki. We finally get to do something with Loki.
A big something.
And he has some room to antagonize at the end of this. Guys, what were your thoughts on Loki and his scheme and how he responds to Baldur?
I mean, it's classic Loki stuff, right? He gets caught in the hand in the cookie jar, and he seems to get punished for it, but then he's already a step ahead and knows how that's going to play out. So what we see is he Baldur chops his head off right there, and then at the end of the book, he's putting it back on again.
Right.
The master of illusion strikes again, right?
He's Bertilac the Green Knight, right? Again, from medieval literature, right? And I mean, it fits because, I mean, he is trapping the virtuous hero with this illusion, right?
Yep.
And I mean, the result of it is a decapitation, and after the decapitation, I mean, it sets the hero on a doomed quest. So I mean, there's once again, just a lot of fun stuff going on there. I mean, also fun at the end, I mean, are the twin Hamlet references, in Loki's final speech, right? I mean, I mean, the first one is, alas, poor Baldur, I knew him, Horatio, that's from the second to last scene of Hamlet. And then, an excellent jest, well worth the price of a stiff neck for a day or two. That's a reference to a man of infinite jest. But then, Baldur, thy name is laughter. I mean, that's a takeoff of, Hamlet's condemnation of Ophelia, right? So, once again, I mean, Simonson is dropping in these Shakespearean lines, I mean, much later in the run, and I'm just going to drop this in here because I don't know if I'm going to be on that episode, but in very far down the line, and I don't think it's a spoiler to say there's a fight scene in the Thor book, but in one of the fight scenes way down the line,
surely you jest.
Thor's opponent is off the frame, and he says, "A hit, Thor, a palpable hit." And
Hamlet,
I mean, that is from the last scene of Hamlet.
Yeah.
And that's the line that's spoken just before the people trying to murder Hamlet spring their trap on him. So I mean, again, I mean, I don't think you have to catch those references. I don't think you have to have taught Hamlet 15 times like I have, to appreciate the story. But there's just that extra layer of fun there. I mean, if you catch these, little literary moments. So I mean, it's a whole lot of fun. And then honestly, I mean, conscience, I cast thee aside. I mean, that is, gosh. I mean, what it reminds me of most is when in Paradise Lost, Satan has his final chance really to repent in book 4 of Paradise Lost. And, his line isn't identical, but what Satan finally says to resolve himself to his own damnation is, "Evil be thou my good." And, I mean, in that moment, I mean, it is like a hammer hitting an anvil, right? I mean, that is when there is no turning back in that story. Right. Up to that point, because Milton is such a master of showing these moments of potential freedom, it could have turned back anytime before then, but in that moment it can't. And for Baldur, I mean, it is that line. It's that spoken line, "Conscience, I cast thee aside." He declares that, I mean, if he has to choose between his soul and his duty, he's going to choose his duty, and he's going to throw away his soul so that he can fulfill his mission in this story.
It's the point of no return. It is the forfeiture of self.
Yeah,
in the moment.
And again, it is so it's a very modern trope, right? I mean, it's something you expect from Shakespeare, from Milton, from, modern authors, right? And the difference is, I mean, for instance, in Mort d'Arthur, just to pick a fairly well-known medieval text, I mean, there are a number of knights who, because of the disaster that befalls at the end, and if you haven't read it, go read it because it's awesome. They leave the knighthood and they become monks, right? But I mean, that is final. I mean, they are dead to the realm and they are alive in Christ, but they are never picking up a sword again. Balder, I mean, he gets called back in.
Yeah.
And I mean, and the question is not which of these is my duty, but is it my duty or my conscience?
Yeah. Well, I almost, this is probably a loose comparison, and I almost think of like stories in Japanese history of famous Ronin, where it's like
that's exactly where my mind went.
So,
I'm not even joking. Like,
so it's like
I was thinking of samurai and the idea of being disgraced and trying to find redemption in a faith or in a belief system, and then being forced to question that and go and decide, have I learned anything?
That's where my mind went, because
no. I mean, yeah, because I mean, I the Tales of the Haika, is the samurai story I'm most familiar with, and I mean, there is Kumagai the samurai. I mean, he is in a situation where he has to kill a young enemy samurai, and it reminds him of his own teenage son, because when he takes the helmet off the kid, he realizes that he's only probably 16 or 17. God. And he realizes that he's got a kid at home the same age, and he says from that day forward he sought out a Buddhist monastery so that he could leave the samurai life and become a monk.
It really all of this to say, listener, you've got a pretty generous lesson tonight. But Nathan, this is why I freaking love you, man. Like, because like you pull these things out and it's like, yeah, hey listener, I bet you didn't expect that, because I didn't. There was, so kind of building off this theme of like Loki goading Balder to forfeit his honor and his dignity, really to forfeit what's left of him, because Balder knows he's, when Balder went to hell, he even says it to Odin. He's like, you would have me go and do this task to the man who sent me to hell? Yeah. Like, and because he's Balder, because he's honorable above all else, he says, I'll do this, but I'm not gonna kill anymore. I'm not gonna do this thing. Because that's kind of been Balder's arc up until now. It will continue to be his arc for a while, because he's going to struggle with this.
And I'll go ahead and say a medieval king would say, yeah, you actually are going to kill whoever I tell you to kill.
Which once he says he
but
won't,
Odin's
right?
But Odin says,
for it.
well, you have conscientious objector status here in Asgard, so that's all cool. And
he's like, do what you feel is best. And it's like, oh, that's very diplomatic and
very 18th century.
The scene that we were talking about, Loki, the scene that I love about this, and then we'll kind of land the plane after our final thoughts, is when Balder hands over the summons to Loki, and he says, it has not prevented me, your demons and Malekith, they have not prevented me in fulfilling my duty. Here, this is the letter, Loki. Though it cost me my soul, I have completed my mission. I've kept my duty. I've done my duty above my soul, what Nathan was talking about just a few minutes ago. For my Lord Odin, the fate of the universe hangs in the balance. And Loki's next line is, you are a fool, Balder. He tosses the summons behind him, and he says, to think that a message from my stepfather could possibly be of concern to me. Balder is immediately offended. Like, what? And Loki says, I've already decided to accept Malekith's offer. After all, I have the blood of giants in my veins, and my stepfather never tires of reminding me. But It was so delightful to watch a pacifist slay his thousands that I simply could
Bible
not
reference.
I could not bring myself to mention this before. Why, it would have spoiled my fun. And Balder goes ballistic.
Yeah.
This is why Loki is like, he's the shittiest of shitheads. like the whole world is a game to him. Like, this is him flexing his Joker vibe.
Yeah.
Even if the world burns, like, I'm gonna watch it burn with a smile on my face.
Yep.
Well, yeah, it's Iago, right? I mean, it's not enough for me to destroy Othello. I want to watch Othello murder his wife.
It was honestly one of my favorite Loki scenes that I had forgotten about from my first reading of this. I was like, oh my gosh. And then Balder, because Balder even says, like, I've forfeited my soul, but I've kept my duty. He actually forfeits his soul even more because he goes immediately to lop Loki's head off.
Yeah.
And then even that's a joke to Loki, because he says a great sorcerer, one of the first lessons you learn is how to not die, pretty much, like how to trick people. And like Loki, in a few pages, in a few panels, like, you're just like, oh right, this guy is the worst. He's the absolute worst. But guys, final thoughts on really the issues as a whole, and then we'll wrap up and tell people where they can find you guys on the internet and where they can enjoy what you're working on. John, do you have final thoughts on the issues we covered tonight?
I mean, this is the legacy of Walt Simonson. There's so many things here that he shaped Marvel, just like Louise did, in just an unbelievable amount of ways. And what we see here is his craft. I think Nathan's brought it up a ton. This idea of a well-read, a person who understands literature as well as he does, utilizing that information in a way to create a story that goes way beyond what's on the page, and craft something that is really unique to the Thor universe, and I think is a lot of fun. I mean, it's just good Copper Age comic book fun, and you get Thor smashing things, you get hilarious cameos, and you get
that Clark
really
Kent,
that
man.
Amazing mythology. We didn't even get into like the stuff with the ravens, and I feel like there's just this wonderful mythology to the universe of Thor, and I think it's all tapped into nicely here.
Right.
Couldn't agree more. Nathan, do you have anything left? I feel like you should be running on E right now, because weren't class over like hours ago.
One thing that I will say is that, I mean, the things that I've been highlighting tonight and, showing myself geeking out about, and I do so unapologetically. I mean, is one of the things that I find so masterful about Simonson, is that he doesn't just hook this story to other comic book lore, but he hooks it to, I mean, for God's sake, the Poetic Edda, to the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, to Shakespeare, to the Bible, right? I mean, he has this ability, I mean, to do it, I mean, in ways that you don't need to catch the references to enjoy it by any means, just like I haven't caught all of the comic book references that you guys have pointed to. But if you do catch them, I mean, they're not superfluous. They're not just extra stuff, but they
I got it.
But they they add complexity to the story. And I mean, like I said, I mean, I read a lot of these issues, back in the late 80s when I was 12, 13 years old. But yeah, I mean, coming back to them now, 3 graduate degrees later, I mean, it's really cool stuff.
Awesome. I mean, yeah, it's so one thing I've loved, and listeners, we did not record video for this, but I just need you to know, all three of us have been smiling pretty much the entire time we've been doing this. And I've so enjoyed this. Probably some comics that people would have easily overlooked. In the grand scheme of Simonson's run, like we want more Beta Ray Bill, we want Malekith, we want, when's the frog show up? Like, don't worry, the frog's going to show up. We're going to go into the weird realm of fairy tales very soon.
Yes.
But like, when are we getting to the Midgard serpent? Don't worry, everybody. I am stoked for the Midgard serpent issues. But these issues really prove to me like what you can accomplish when you have just like some fun books. You talk about them with awesome people, and you realize that you had a great time doing it. So John, I want to just give you guys, John and Nathan, I want to give you guys opportunities now. Just like tell people what you're doing, how they can engage with you, and then we'll hop aboard the Rainbow Bridge and scoot on to the rest of our night. But John, where can people find you, and tell them what you got going on?
Yeah. I'm on social media pretty much all around as John's Comics with Kids, YouTube and Instagram primarily, but a little bit everywhere. I do a weekly show you mentioned called Omni X-Men with my friend No Good Comics, and we review a single issue of Claremont's Uncanny X-Men run each week, and then discuss it, break down every little minutia, every little piece of information across the run from Claremont. We're on our third omnibus, so we're in the third season of that show. I also have a monthly New Comic Book Day show with my friend Whitewell Comics, where we look back at the books from the month and whatever we're reading. Usually it's a lot of indie issue number ones, just looking at what's good out there that month. And then
awesome.
Saturdays and Sundays are usually stuff I do with my daughters. So whether we're reading a new chapter from a Harry Potter book, or whether we're sitting down on the couch and going over whatever we've been reading together, we just try to do some family stuff on the weekends.
That's fantastic, man. If you can talk to No Good, I've talked to him a few times on Instagram. Like, I would love to have him stop by and talk about anything. I don't really care. Great. I mean, you guys do great stuff. And
Justin's a really, he's a young reader. He's just getting into comics, really.
Right.
It's hilarious because his dad was a comic book artist, and he drew for Marvel.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's I think it was one of those cases of like a kid not wanting to get involved in whatever their dad did at work. And so he was like, yeah. I don't care. You go draw your Marvel team up or whatever. I'm gonna go and skateboard or whatever and just get away from it. Justin's
dad did issues of Marvel Team Up.
I would have to break out all the books that I've got from him, but yeah, his dad was a LaRoche. LaRoche is the last name, and he's done a few different comics and I've seen, and he did a really great. He still does like commissions and stuff. He's a really talented guy.
I love Marvel Team Up so much.
They're so underappreciated.
It's these Saturday morning cartoons of my comic book. I'm actually, once I'm done finishing Simonson, in one of those long boxes you see behind me, I have a partial Marvel Team Up run that I'm trying to finish. Nice. Those books are bananas. They're so good. But so Nathan,
it's Greg LaRoche, or I always mispronounce it.
Okay. Oh, I got to talk to Justin about that. But Nathan, man, where can people find you? What do you got going on? Christian Humanist Profiles still rocking and rolling over
Yes,
there?
Indeed. So Christian Humanist Profiles is my interview show. I have on philosophers and theologians, biblical scholars, historians, people from all over the academy. They talk to me about their new books. And I press questions that I think my listeners want to hear. I've actually got a new show coming up. I'm not announcing the name of it yet because I want to record 4 or 5 episodes so that, I don't end up, releasing one episode and then 6 months later, no new episode. But social media, I mean, you can find me on Facebook at The Christian Humanist Podcast. That's where we announce a lot of our new episodes and link to an onboard web player and such. And trying to think of what else listeners might want to hear, but really Christian Humanist Profiles is where I've been doing a lot of my podcasting here lately, and come check it out.
We will in our episode description, we'll put links to to John's YouTube channel, and we'll put links to Christian Humanist profiles so that you guys can go check this out. If you want more of John, more of Nathan, if somehow you have not gotten enough of us tonight, and because I don't even know what the runtime on this episode is going to be, I don't even care. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But everybody, you can check out Across the Bifrost on Instagram. That's largely where we're at. We have a Discord server now, which we're getting that kind of warmed up. It's been a lot of fun so far. We hope that you can check that out. Maybe if you're like me and Discord kind of scares you, we have that going right now. Hey, buddy, you got an ice cream cone?
Yeah. We saw we do want one flavor.
Oh, well, I'll get my own ice cream. I'll get my own ice cream cone later. Everybody, that's my son, Logan, who's named after Wolverine. Yeah. And that made John happy. So you can check it out on Discord now. We have the links on our social media, but yeah, you can check out the show, iTunes, Spotify. If you would, we really don't push this a lot. If you would give a rating and a review, that'd be awesome. And that'd be a great way to help out the show. We are working on something for the next few months that is review and rating related. I'll say that for now. And it involves an upcoming guest that we're really stoked about. So just rating and reviews, they matter. And we just hope that you can give us a few moments and do that for us. That'd be fantastic. But everybody, we are done with the second part of Simonson Saga. You've made it this far. There's only about 15 or 16 more parts left. So just hang with us. Now our Jason Aaron retrospective was like 15 or 16 too. So, we're doing well. We hope that you've enjoyed so far this deep dive into Simonson's run on Thor, a run that we believe is well worth your time and ours. So until we see you next time aboard the Rainbow Bridge, we encourage you to do one thing. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, remember to stay worthy.